We need a few things for the class today. We're going to start with using some kind of belt or a strap, if you could grab that. If you've got 2 yoga bricks or maybe books, that would also be good. And a bolster or a cushion or a pillow would be fine. So if you were here on Monday morning, some of the practice is going to be similar to that, but we're going to start slightly differently. So just before we settle, just so we can do this first, if you'd like to grab your belt and make a loop in it, it's going to sound a little bit strange. You could use any type of strap, it doesn't have to be a yoga belt. And you're going to tie the belt around the top of your abdomen, just beneath the lower ribs. And not so tight that you can't breathe, but tight enough so that you can feel the expansion and the retraction of each inhalation and each exhalation. I'm going to tighten mine slightly. Thank you so much for joining us both this morning. And then once you feel that your belt is, or your strap is in place, if you'd like to, in your easy seat, and it's absolutely fine to be on a chair for this, if you'd like to maybe close your eyes and allow your hands to float softly down onto your legs. And taking the first few moments of your practice to either continue with the piece that will invite it into our meditation, and or to drop into what you're feeling right now. If you've just arrived, feeling the support of the floor beneath you or the chair. So we really look to create both a sense of stability and softness in our practice. So checking in if there's any area in the body where you feel particularly contracted right now, maybe in the face or in the belly. As you notice how you're feeling, as you notice what's present for you this morning, asking yourself the question we asked on Monday morning. What is it that life most wants from you? What is it that life most wants from you? And that could be right now, or it could be a more expansive question. And can you take a couple of moments as you sit here this morning, inviting that question in, to maybe set yourself an intention from the answer or the reflection that arises from asking that question. Maybe what life most wants from you right now is calm. Or an inner peace, place of peace from which to act, as Will explored with us in the meditation. Or maybe for you it's something different. And then bringing yourself to the breath. First of all, the sensation of air moving softly in your nostrils. And possibly noticing, now that you have this strap or this belt tied around you, that the abdomen moves against the belt every time you inhale, and then draws in a little bit every time you exhale. So I'm using the belt this morning because we quite often do a breathing practice where I invite you in to feel all dimensions of the breath. And a couple of you have said to me that this is really not very accessible. And hopefully the belt will help us now. So I'd like you to, as you breathe, feel into the lower part of the abdomen first. Maybe checking that you're soft in the lower abdomen. And then noticing with this attachment of the belt how, as you breathe, there's a movement in 4 directions to begin with. There's a movement out to the front, out to the back, and out to the sides. And as you breathe out, there's a gentle drawing back in again, a release. So all I want you to do is take a few breaths like this, really observing this sense of expansion in all directions in the lower part of the abdomen, and release from all directions. I think the belt really accentuates the sense of the sides and the back of the body that we're not always aware of when we breathe. And then if it's accessible for you, you continue with this breath, but bringing in the sense of the top and the bottom as well. So it's not just out to the front, the sides and the back, but all the way down to your pelvic floor, and then lifting up from the diaphragm into the chest. So you could imagine a whole sphere of light, perhaps, as you breathe, that expands in all these directions. And as you continue to explore the breath, really inviting this softness into your face, into your shoulders. And don't worry at all if there feels like there's some obstruction. That would be quite normal. My belly's very tight this morning for whatever reason, so I really understand that feeling of not quite filling as freely with the breath as might be possible. Just stay with it. And you could stay with this sense of attention in the lower part of the abdomen. Or you might like to now, still with the focus on the belt, bring your attention up to the chest, up to the ribs. So that similarly you feel an expansion out to the front, the back and the sides to begin with each inhalation. And a release of the whole rib cage from all directions on each exhalation. And if you want to, you can then include the bottom and the top of this upper part of your torso. Again, with a sense of a sphere expanding from the heart space out in all directions with the breath. Just a few more rounds. Just a few more rounds, really feeling in. And then you can you can soften, release the belt a little. You can take it off. We're going to take one more part of this breathing practice before we come into movement. So now coming to feel a simple breath, and you may have held on to this sense of expansion in all directions. But now with the breath, as you inhale, bring your attention to the base of your spine and lift the breath up all the way up the spine to the top of the head, where it releases from the top of the head in a shower of light that pours down your body, all the way back down to the base of the spine, and you breathe in all the way up. You don't have to use your hands like I am. I'm just using this to help me pace and to speak. And exhale, the shower of light pours from the top of your head all the way down the outside of the body, bathing you this morning with goodness. I'm going to leave you for 2 minutes, continuing with that cleansing, bathing breath. And then letting go of all that attention. Taking a moment to notice how you feel. And then opening your eyes. And we'll come into a gentle movement practice very similar to what we did on Monday. So if you're sitting cross-legged, you might like to change the cross of your legs now, or maybe just take a little bit of movement in your ankles, your knees, because the first part of this practice is seated again. If you're sitting on a chair, you can still practice what we're going to do for now, sitting on a chair. At some point, you might like to come down to the floor. And then coming to really feel both arms relaxed, hanging away from the shoulders, really soft in your face. And at some point beginning to float the right arm up with all your attention, not on any sense of achievement or finality. It's on the sense of the arm moving in space and a sense of what's going on in the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. And taking your time, so you could copy my movement or you could take a different movement. As you explore the sense of your skin, maybe taking your arm a little bit behind you. We're just waking up to gentle movement in the body. You might find that your arm comes down again before it lifts up again. Taking a few moments here. Really maybe opening your fingers out wide as petals to feel the morning light on the palm of your hand as well as on your face. Until eventually the right arm floats back down. This is very much a practice of feeling into the energy body, this body sensing, and bringing your attention to the left hand, the left arm, before you begin to float the left arm up. And there's absolutely no right or no wrong here. It's a wonderful opportunity in the morning to notice where all the glitches are. How do you feel in the left shoulder, wrist and elbow? Are you able to continue to breathe freely? Maybe still retaining a little bit of that awareness of how we breathe that the belt might have helped you enhance. We're just still moving the left arm in any way that feels right to you. It's as if you're inviting the morning in. I can feel this awakening in my left ribs, for example, awakening in the left shoulder and the side of the neck. Opening your hands like petals of a flower. Until you're ready to release the left arm down as well. Wonderful. And then floating both arms up, both arms up. And there's a real release down through the bottom of your body as you do this. Down through the hips. Maybe look up at your hands. Feel the tenderness of the palms and the fingers. And at some point, begin to float down towards the right. Take your time. You might come all the way down onto the forearm. You might look under your left armpit. But there's no sense here of having to really reach and strive with the left arm. I'm much more interested in you feeling a release down in the left hip and feeling what it feels like to breathe into the left side of the body. Slowly awakening with the subtlety of practice. With the sense that you have all the time in the world to simply sense and to simply be, to drop into the quality of being that's present right now. With that question still hovering, what does life most want from me right now? And at some point, you'll begin to come all the way up to the top before coming down to the left. And you don't have to come down on your forearm like me, you could be on the hand. And notice that I'm not staying particularly still. I feel quite a lot of tightness in the right hip here. So I'm just moving around to explore what's going on in the body. All the time softening and breathing. Softening in the jaw. Softening behind the eyes. And then at some point coming all the way up. With both arms, fingers open. And take a moment here to feel this release down through the lower body as you expand up through the torso, up through the arms to the fingers. And then gently bringing your torso forwards, 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 forwards until your hands come to the floor. And see if you can soften the back of your neck, the shoulders. So you're not lifting your sitting bones off the floor, but there is a sense of the floor and your forehead, if you're sitting down, coming to meet each other. And I don't mean touching necessarily, but just this connection. Can you stay a moment here? Can you soften, noticing where you're contracting, noticing the experience of contraction in the body and inviting softness right into the heart of it? And that might be your mind. And then gently pushing into your hands to straighten your arms. And slowly coming back to reassemble your spine. Taking a moment to feel the body now, to notice the breath. And then either with your eyes closed or open, beginning to turn your head ever so gently to the right. So you feel sensation in the left side of your neck. Not grasping, not tightening. Maybe using your eyes to look a little over the right shoulder. And at some point your arms can float up as your torso gently moves around to the right in the direction of your head. So that maybe your left hand comes down on the right leg and the right hand comes down behind you. And again, even though we stay here for a few breaths, you don't need to be rigid and static. You might want to explore a little bit of movement with the pelvis here. Noticing what's holding you tight. You need to move the head around a little bit. And now breathe here. Aware that the inner organs of your body are as integral to this practice as are the bones and muscles and skin that may seem more obvious right now. Can you soften and pour attention into the internal organs? Liver, stomach, kidneys. And then keeping the torso to the right, just begin to move your head around to the center and then around to the left. Just your head, so you can feel the softness now of the right side of your neck and throat. Still softening down through the hips. And at some point, your arms can float up again as the rest of your torso comes around to the left to follow your head. Maybe your right arm comes to the left leg, left hand behind you. And take a little while here to feel this direction of the twist, moving if you need to really feel into it. How much softness can you invite in? How relevant does it feel to you right now to ask that question again of what does life most want from me right now? And maybe more generally. And keeping the torso round to the left, just gently move your head around to the right again. Noticing how this feels in the neck, the side of the head. If you need to release the shoulders a little. What's going on in your eyes. And then bringing your head back to neutral. And releasing your arms and your torso back to neutral also. And taking a moment to simply feel. Very gentle, subtle practice. But sometimes these are the most refreshing, the most transformative. From here, if you'd like to come to an all fours position, please. Having your 2 blocks or books handy at the end of your mat or nearby. And you might want to cushion your knees. And really feeling into the connection between your hands and the mat, your knees and the mat. And simply taking your weight from side to side, from the left hand to the right. It's a little bit of a swaying movement to begin with. Just to become aware of the floor, aware of the spine. Then we'll begin to explore those pelvic tilts that bring us into a cat-cow movement, but forget whatever you know about cat-cow and just simply allow the pelvis to tilt down. And notice how maybe your belly softens and opens, your chest opens, your throat opens. So I'm purposely not integrating the breath here. You just breathe, take as many breaths as you need so that we take this a little bit more slowly. And at some point begin to tilt the pelvis back so that your belly pulls into the spine, your chin to the chest. And find a rhythm, find a pace that feels just right for you this morning. You might be feeling a little bit more energetic, like you want to go faster, but I feel like going really slowly. So to feel every muscle, every vertebra, a connection between them. And it's absolutely fine to continue in this direction, simply flexing and extending the spine. Or you might like to continue flexing and extending the spine, but bringing some circling into the hips, and you might even want to bend into your elbows as you really swivel around. So feeling really into the side waist, the hips, the side of the ribs, really ducking and diving, making this quite intuitive. You could take your hands further forwards if that feels right and roll over a little bit. So this part of the practice, well, really all of the practice, is for you to explore intuitively what feels good. There's nothing rigid. You might come back to child for a moment before you come forwards again into a cow and a cat. All I would ask is that if you are moving in one direction, that at some point you begin to move in the opposite direction. And it's just such a lovely way, even though I do this, I've been doing this for years, every time I do it, I just feel so enlivened. It's like every cell of my body has access, or I have access to it, especially the outer skin. So don't hold back, really go for it, go for whatever feels right for you. But without making any effort, just making it free movement. Enlivening your being, enlivening the subtlety of sensation. Until at some point, if you'd like to allow your hips to drop back towards your heels, and your knees could be together or you could take them a little way apart. And either bringing your hands underneath your forehead or sliding your arms out in front. Come to settle in pose of the child for a few breaths, just allowing yourself time to notice the radiance of sensation in your body. Notice the quality of the breath. Noticing the support beneath you and the sense of the space above and around you. Maybe aware of those directions of the breath. You feel the belly and the back of the belly, the ribs and the back and the sides. Helping you breathe more fully, more freely. And then when you're ready, slowly coming back up to an all fours position. And bringing your right foot forwards. And you can have your left knee as far back as feels comfortable for you. And this may be where you want to take your hands to bricks or books on either side of the foot. And taking a little moment to settle into this pose. It might be quite a strong sensation here on the left thigh, the left front hip. You can curl under your back toes. And we're going to move very gently, and I'm going to keep asking you to back off, because the idea is not to be overwhelmed by sensation, but to find softness. There's a little bit of a rock forwards, but then gradually you're going to come towards straightening both legs. I'm just going to move in between those two poses, and it's intense, and this is why the idea is not to come to full straight legs, but to notice where you begin to feel quite a lot of sensation and then back off. And keep going, keep going. This is about feeling, not about achieving. You might like to drop your head towards your knee, or that might just not feel like anything you want to do right now. You might even find you want to move around a little bit with the hip, a little bit of circling. As you notice sensation in a part of the leg that wants your attention. Just a little bit more on this side. It's such a lovely way to wake up the tissues of the legs in the morning. A little bit of hip work as well. If you like to stay, you can stay. That feels good, but don't feel you have to. In your own time, coming to change the legs. So bringing your right knee back and bringing your left foot forwards. And taking exactly the same movements, a little bit of a rock forwards, maybe opening in the chest. And a little bit of a lift back, not necessarily coming to full straight legs. And it would be completely normal to feel different on each side. So my left leg, for some reason at the moment, is far more relaxed than my right. My right leg's really tight. Even quite painful. And so this is just a good way of noticing and backing off when necessary. Keep breathing and keep looking for softness. Nowhere to go, nothing to achieve. At some point you might want to stay for a few breaths in more stillness, but you don't have to. And then from here we're going to look forwards and step both of our feet forwards into a standing forward fold. And you could have your hands on the bricks or you could take them away now. And feel the feet in contact with the floor and the whole of your torso pouring out of the pelvis. And you could have your knees quite bent, or you might like to straighten them a little. But you really want a sense of heaviness and softness as well in the shoulders and the arms and the neck and the head. So nothing is being held. You're really dangling like a rag doll. And then beginning to float your arms out to the side to help bring you up. Arms over your head, maybe a little bit of a back bend. And then taking your arms out to the side as you float all the way back down. And we'll do that again, arms out to the side to bring you up and out until your arms come up over your head. And then slowly arms out to the side. And come all the way down. Let's just do one more, breathing in, come all the way up. And breathing out. And now breathing in, bring your arms up all together over your head for more of a back bend maybe. Again, not forcing anything. Only looking up at your hands if that feels right to you. And take a couple of breaths to really expand into the front of the body here. And then gently coming back, reassembling the spine, arms down by your sides. Wonderful. Take a moment here just to feel the body. Feel the morning. And then arms again down by your sides. And floating the left arm up. And bringing it over your head as you slide the right hand down the leg. So again, we're not coming as far as possible, but we keep exploring sensation in the side body. Wonderful. And then slowly, a little bit of strength in your abdomen to come back as your right arm lifts. We come over to the left. And you could stay a few breaths, but you might also want to bring in a little bit more movement as you move from side to side. Move from side to side or stay. But make sure you go an equal number of times to each side until we meet arms down by the sides. Just feeling the body. And then from here, beginning to fold forwards again, folding over your knees. Maybe having a block ready for your ankles, your heels, because we're going to come into a squat. But from this forward fold to begin with, Just lifting your heels as you bring your fingers to the floor and you sit down towards your heels. Feeling a little bit of a stretch in your toes, the soles of your feet. So good for our feet to do this. And then either with a block underneath your heels or not, just shuffling your feet a little bit further apart so that you're able to settle down into malasana, settle down into a squat. Making sure, if you can, that your knees are in the same direction as your toes. Absolutely fine to have your heels up, as I said, but better if they're pressing into some support. And your upper arms can press into your knees. Maybe bring your palms together. Isn't it funny how our bodies change? Today I really need something under my heels. I've done something to my legs and ankles and feet, I think. So you can press a little bit with your upper arms against your legs, palms together, and have a little bit of a push of the heels of your hands as you open into the collarbones and the chest and you smile. And keep dropping down through the base of your pelvis. Really dropping down towards the earth. And noticing where you're contracting here. Where do you experience contraction? And where can you soften and let go? And you could stay here in this slightly more upright version of malasana, of squat. Or you can just begin to curl forwards, chin to your chest, palms up like an offering out in front of you. It's really lovely to open out the back body here. And breathe. And feel, and it's quite possible you'll feel contraction, resistance. Are you able to breathe and stay with that for just a few more breaths? Can you feel that expansion in all directions of the breath? And then turning your palms over and simply rocking onto your knees. And this is where we need a bolster or a cushion. So we're coming to those supported back bends we did on Monday, which I really love. Good old Richard Miller. So you don't need a proper yoga bolster. You could have any type of elevation, but that's soft for the front of your pelvis. You're going to lie over your bolster so that the pelvis, maybe the top of your thighs, a little bit of the lower belly are cushioned. And then to begin with, just rest your head down onto your hands and notice how this feels. It's a little bit of a massage for the belly as well and the organs of your abdomen. And the reason we're going to do these movements is to softly build strength in the back muscles, which is so important for supporting our upright positions, for sitting. Strong back muscles are a great way of avoiding back pain. So when you're ready, beginning to lift the right leg off the floor, and you can either have it straight or bend the knee a little bit. And just noticing where in the body you feel this lift, where in the back. You can hover around a little bit before you slowly lower the leg. You can begin to float the left leg up. So we'll alternate today. This is very exploratory. It's not about coming as high as can be. It's about noticing how the movement of the leg communicates with the back muscles. And just keep going, moving from leg to leg. Not trying too hard, breathing freely. Not contracting any parts of the body that aren't needed, like the shoulders or the jaw. You may find you stay a while with one leg, just noticing the engagement of the muscles. You can also explore what it's like to bend the knee and then straighten. And then lowering both legs and having a breath or two to really soften into the back and the belly. And then we lift both legs together. But just to stay for a few breaths. And you can probably feel the work. They don't have to be super high, they could be quite low. As long as you feel some engagement, some work going on in these lower back muscles in particular. And then gently releasing the legs down. And breathing into the belly. And then sliding your hands down by your ribs, still keeping your pelvis exactly where it is. Very gently beginning to push into your hands to lift your chest, and you don't have to come up high. A little bit more of an accessible cobra with this lift under the pelvis. And then you can come back down again. And I'm going to leave you to decide if you want to keep lifting and dropping, or if maybe it feels quite nice to stay a while. Maybe it feels quite nice to open the chest, to slide the shoulder blades down the spine. Take the head back. So for those of you who find back bending on your belly quite hard, this is a really great way of giving you more access. A few more breaths here, moving or staying. Until you're ready to come all the way down. And then gently pushing into your hands and your knees so you can come off the bolster and slide your way back to your heels. You might want to bring the bolster under your belly in between your legs and for your cheek, or you could have this child's pose without a bolster, that's fine. And then take a few breaths here, just feeling into the back body now and softening into the belly and into the shoulders. And in your own time, coming to Sit on your heels if that's possible for you, or in any other seated position. Hands down on your thighs, eyes closed, to simply feel your breath. Maybe noticing a gentle aliveness in the body, maybe not, whatever's present for you. And becoming very soft in the forehead, the cheeks, the mouth, the jaws, the eyes. Soft in the side waist. And then coming down onto your backs to rest. So lying down in any position that's very comfortable. Allowing your feet to flop out to the side, your arms out, palms facing the ceiling. So you can surrender now. Surrender fully to the force of gravity. And I'm going to read you a short poem and then allow you to stay, well, not allow you, you can stay for as long as you like, but I will be ending the Zoom. And I'll be back tonight at 6 with the Hatha Flow class. It'd be really, really great to hear from you about the schedule, because some people are saying that it's not quite working for them, but I need to know what does work. So do let me know, and we can change things next week. We're feeling more settled in the house now, so we can maybe add more classes. So allowing yourself to drop into sensation, to follow the stream of a natural breath. And this poem that I've read before is one I love, by the astrophysicist and poet Rebecca Elson. It's called Myth. What I want is a mythology so huge that settling on its grassy bank, which may at first seem ordinary, you catch sight of the frog, the stone, the dead minnow jewelled with flies, and remember all at once the things you had forgotten to imagine. Thank you so much for joining me. Like I said, please stay longer resting if you possibly can. Have a lovely day. Lots of love to you all.